Welcome to the Hunger Action Heroes podcast. Hunger Action Heroes is a production of the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent. The Food Bank of the Golden Crescent was established in 1986 as the Community Food Bank in Victoria, Texas. Our mission is helping heal the hurt of hunger in our 11-county service area: Calhoun, Colorado, DeWitt, Goliad, Gonzales, Jackson, Lavaca, Matagorda, Refugio, Victoria, and Wharton. We passionately advocate for a hunger-free Texas. Your host, Chris Doelle, will bring you a message from our sponsor and get right into the episode. Stick around.
The Hunger Action Heroes podcast by the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent is made possible by the generous support of the HEB Hunger Relief Program. HEB Hunger Relief works year-round to fight hunger in Texas and Mexico. Hunger relief has been a key focus for HEB since the first store opened back in 1905. For more than a century now, HEB's commitment and involvement in the communities it serves has been an important part of the way the company does business. Since the inception of the Hunger Relief Program, HEB has donated over 1 billion pounds of food to help nourish neighbors in communities throughout Texas and Mexico. Thank you to the HEB Hunger Relief Program. All right, everybody join me in welcoming Meridith Byrd, the Director of Community Engagement and the Farmers Market Manager. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
You bet. So I like to start off with where you grew up and how you got to the food bank.
I'm a Victoria native,
okay,
and left for college and came back. I guess I was gone for about 12 years between college and then just, living in Austin for a while. And I've been back since 2008. And my husband and I came back to Victoria when we decided we wanted to have kids and wanted them to grow up around our families. And so I was working as a biologist when I moved back. And then when my kids were 1 and 3, I left work and stayed home with them for about 3 years. And then when I was looking to come back to work, I found out about an opportunity coming up at the food bank for a grant writing position. And that eventually became the community engagement director. And so I got on with the food bank. And then about 4 months after I had started here at the food bank, the market manager position became available. Mm-hmm. And so then I took that on as well.
So what exactly is a community engagement? That whole department, what is
so that? I handle the social media, keeping up with the website. I will schedule food drives. I'll assist our development director with event planning. I'll respond to inquiries coming in via our web chats or Facebook Messenger. I'm one of many people who helps connect clients with mm-hmm. the services that they need, whether they're looking for food or, they heard that we help people sign up for CHIP and SNAP and Medicaid. So I will, just help direct them to what services and assistance they might need.
Nice. And so the farmers market, it used to not be under the food bank.
Right.
Talk about that transition, how that happened.
Sure. So I was not a part of that. That all happened before I came on. Mm-hmm. But the farmers market has been around in one iteration or the other since the mid-'80s. Mm-hmm. And at the end of 2015 is when it was brought on under the food bank umbrella. And when it closed for the season in 2015, after that, the transition happened. And basically the farmers themselves were looking for an organization to run the market.
I see.
And had reached out to a handful of organizations, and Robin stepped up and said, yeah, we'll bring it on under our umbrella. And so when the market reopened in the spring of 2016, it was an official food bank program.
And what for people who knew it back in the day, what are the changes that the food bank brought?
So it allowed the market to have a paid full-time market manager, which there's a lot of background work that goes into putting on a regular event like that. You have to vet your vendors, you have to recruit new vendors, you have to make sure that everybody's following the food safety laws, you have to get advertising. There's a lot of, like I said, just stuff behind the scenes work that you don't realize. And having someone with, who's devoted to getting all of that done has really allowed the market to grow. We also, at the end of the day, if a vendor has food that's left over, if they didn't sell all their produce and they don't necessarily want to go home and pickle the extra cucumbers or whatever, they can send that extra produce with me. I will bring it back here to the food bank that same day, get it in our coolers, get it in our inventory so that it is ready to go that next week to be distributed to clients. So nice. It has garnered us some additional fresh produce here at the food bank.
Excellent. And what about the logistics of the farmers market? When is it? Where is it? How do people find it?
So we are open year round, which hasn't always been a thing. Since 2017, when we opened after Hurricane Harvey in that fall, we've been open consistently year round ever since November of 2017, and we are open every Wednesday and every Saturday at 9:00. And we are located at the Patty Dodson Health Clinic at the corner of Navarro and Airline. So we have an agreement with the county to use their parking lot, which is fantastic because it's right on a busy thoroughfare. We're very visible. We have space to grow as needed. It's accessible for people with mobility issues. And it's a great location because we're very easy to find. And
talk about the expansion and contraction, because I've seen it depending on the season.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we've had upwards of 30 vendors at a time. When I first came on in January of 2017, I think my first market might have had 6 vendors. And now if there are less than 20 on a Saturday, I'm worried about where everybody is. Are people having car trouble? Are they sick? Are they out of town? We average about 25 or so on a Saturday, but like you said, we'll contract and expand as we need. And we're kind of in our slow season right now, August and September. Thankfully the summer has been very kind to us, but typically it's just, we're in the dog days of summer, and we will start getting bigger again in October as things cool off, more vegetables start coming in. But yeah, we'll take up as much space in that parking lot as we need, depending on how many vendors we need to accommodate.
I love that. And another reason why they need a manager, because you've got to keep people organized. Absolutely.
Or it would just be a free-for-all.
Right. So you mentioned the vegetables will be coming in. What exactly can people find there? Because it's a wide variety.
Yeah. So everything at the market has to be homegrown, homemade, or handmade by the person selling it. So we're not a craft market. We're not a market days that might have boutique clothing or stuff for resale. That's not we are. We like to set ourselves apart by being a true farmer's market. And so we'll have seasonal vegetables. We'll have local honey. We'll have a variety of meats, chicken, pork, beef, sometimes turkey, fish. We'll have farm eggs, and then a ton of homemade foods. Everything from, homemade pickles like you might expect, fresh baked breads, jellies, even freeze-dried goods, microgreens, all kinds of pastries and canned foods. And what's great about that is you can actually talk to the person who's making your food and ask them, if you're picking up a vegetable that you might not be familiar with, and say, how would I cook this?
Yeah.
And, you're going to get a great recipe straight out of the mouth of the person who's grown that vegetable and can say, well, let me tell you what I do with it.
I love that. And so you have to vet who the vendors are. Talk about the vetting process, and then if somebody's interested, what their process is.
Sure. So there is an application to become a member, and if you're selling your own food, if you're selling vegetables, I need to know that those are your vegetables. Mm-hmm. We do not allow someone to purchase from a wholesaler,
right.
Which is not always the case at farmers markets, surprisingly. But we don't allow that. We don't allow you to go down to the valley and come back with a truckload of grapefruit. Right. If we don't have citrus, we just don't have citrus, because it's what our local farmers and ranchers are growing themselves. So, anyone who wants to be a vendor, I highly encourage you to come to the market and walk around and see what we have and see where you might fit in. Mm-hmm. I like people to take a look from a potential vendor side of how do people set up their canopies, how do they arrange their tables, what do their signage look like, and then come talk to me about an application. And it's a very straightforward, just tell us what you want to bring, and then we'll let you know about any certifications or permits that you might need. And it's a lot of fun. I'm very proud that so many of my vendors all end up becoming friends, and they'll tell me that this is, they just love coming to the market, not only to sell their food, but kind of to hang out with their buddies and get some social time in. It's all full of good people selling really good foods. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. And how does something like Texas cottage law figure into this?
So the Texas cottage food law is the law that allows certain homemade foods to be sold to the public. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say, I need to know as a potential vendor what you want to sell. Right. Because if you want to sell tamales, for instance, that's not something that is allowed under the cottage food law. Right. That would have to be made in a restaurant grade commercial kitchen. Mm-hmm. But if you're wanting to do sourdough breads, let's say, or homemade pickles, absolutely. There are, those are allowed under the law. There's a certification you have to get that'll cost you about $15 and a quick online class. And there's some labeling requirements to follow, but the law itself is designed to be pretty easy on a small business owner who wants to sell their foods. And it's really, the law was actually expanded in 2019. It was very restrictive beforehand, and lots of things were open to interpretation by local health departments. But the law was expanded in 2019, and it really just blew the doors off of the restrictions and allowed for a wider variety of homemade foods to be sold. For instance, before 2019, you could sell a pickled cucumber, but you could not pickle anything else. Doesn't matter if you're using the same brine for your okra or your onions or whatever. Mm-hmm. A pickle was defined as a cucumber prior to 2019. And so it rendered every other pickled food illegal. And so, since 2019, we've really been able to expand what we can offer our customers. And, it's better, obviously, for the vendors, because now that's more products that they can use to make their money and, help fund their homestead.
So did you think going into this that you would have to know so much about laws and regulations?
No, I felt so green for... I feel like the first 2 years, I was still really getting my feet under me. I was so thankful, and still am, that I had a handful of veteran vendors who had been doing it for a long time. And in fact, the former market manager stayed on as a vendor for a long time. And they were all hugely helpful in helping me know how I needed to go about, what laws and regulations did I need to be aware of, who needs a permit and who doesn't, and, what questions to ask to really discern if someone is going to be the right kind of vendor at the market. Are they making their own foods versus going somewhere and trying to buy it and resell it? So every year I learn new things, and it's just it speaks to how much work behind the scenes goes on into creating a good event.
Nice. And as a vendor, do you have a commitment to show up every week?
So I say you show up as a vendor as often as suits you. Okay. That being said, the most successful vendors are the ones who are there every week or thereabouts, because the consistency is really what helps your customer base grow. Yeah. And so no, I don't have an agreement that you have to sign or anything that says I will be there every week. I put it in your hands and say, you come as often as you want, but if you'll watch, these certain vendors who are there rain or shine, every week, they're the ones that have the most success.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm being selfish in drilling down into the business part of it, because to me, that's so fascinating. What about limiting the types of vendors? Like, are you going to have 15 sourdough bread people?
So I try to be fairly hands-off about that, because our market has grown such that, we might sell out of cinnamon rolls by 10 o'clock, and there still might be 2 or 3 hours in the market to go. And so I'm not super restrictive on limiting how many types of vendors that we have, because I also believe that's better for the customers. Yeah. You might find that you like one vendor's product more than another, and if I hadn't allowed that vendor to be at the market, well then, you might have never known. The one thing that we do limit are people who are not selling food, so my artisans and crafters. I keep the membership at 90% food vendors, 10% artisans and crafts, so that we don't take away the focus from the foods. And so we have a long waiting list of craft vendors. But I also caution people who want to sell only crafts that you might not do quite as well, because people aren't looking for gifts and knickknacks. Yeah, they are. They're coming there for their, to supplement their groceries, fresh eggs and fresh meats and vegetables and such.
So talk about that aspect. For somebody who's driven by it for years, but hasn't stopped, what's the sales pitch? Why should they stop instead of just going to H-E-B?
Well, who doesn't love a jar of homemade pickles? Right? And yes, absolutely. And, who hasn't cracked open a fresh egg and seen a bright orange yolk compared to a pale yellow yolk? My sales pitch is, these are your friends and neighbors making really good foods, and give us a try. The prices are not outrageous. Our farmers and vendors walk a line between charging a fair price that allows them to make a profit without pricing themselves out of a customer base. And so I think you'll find out that a lot of our prices are comparable to local grocery stores and such. And you're able to talk to the person about, what are you using chemicals on your vegetables? Are you using antibiotics on your animals? Where is this honey coming from? Is this local to Mission Valley? Is it local to Bloomington? Is it local to Inez? You can really drill down and see where your food is coming from.
Yeah, and talk about that other aspect that you mentioned. You don't go down the valley and buy grapefruit. and resell it. The fact that it's local.
Yes.
Talk about the benefit there.
So, and what we define as local is within 100 miles.
Okay.
And yeah, so if you are one who's concerned about a carbon footprint and not having vegetables that are flown in from, other countries or even trucked across the state, these are, this is local foods being transported typically under 30 miles. Most of our vendors are within about 30 miles or so. I have a few who are further out, but supporting a local farmer keeps your money in the local economy.
Yep.
And that's really huge. That is a big concern to a lot of people. And so I'm proud that we're able to facilitate that.
Yeah, the stat I heard was if you spend $1 locally, it circulates about 13 times.
Wow.
If you order on Amazon, it's gone.
Yes.
It's out of our local economy.
Right.
Nothing against Amazon. But
I mean, let me tell you all the ways that I love Amazon.
Right.
But yes, for what we do, we do enjoy supporting local.
Right. And finally, talk to me about SNAP and that program and what it does.
So SNAP is formerly known as food stamps, and November will be 1 year that we've been able to accept SNAP at the farmers market.
Nice.
So people who have a SNAP EBT card can come to the farmers market now and use their benefits at the market. And it's very easy. The way it works is that we have an information booth that my assistant Jackie and I run. It's pretty easy to find. We have bright yellow signage that says SNAP welcome here.
Awesome.
And we have a card reader at our booth. So someone would bring us their card. We'll run it. We'll ask them how much do they want to use. I want to use 30. I want to use 65, whatever it is. And then we have little business card size vouchers in $1 increments that we will give them.
Oh, nice.
That's what they use to pay the vendors.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. It works similar to the grocery store in that you can't buy hot foods.
Right.
That's against the regulations. But, I mean, you can buy anything from fresh breads to your meats, your eggs, snack foods. It's just like it would be in the grocery store. No non-food items. So you couldn't buy soaps. You couldn't buy crafts, obviously. But you have your pick of fresh local foods right there being able to be purchased with your SNAP benefits.
That's huge. And then that vendor in the booth then takes those back to you. Okay.
For reimbursement, yes. And so I just ran the numbers recently, and since November of 2023, we have run nearly $5,000 in SNAP transactions.
Nice.
It's fantastic for our vendors. And great for our customers.
Yeah.
It's making us more accessible to a new customer base.
No, I love that. That's wonderful. Anything else I've overlooked that we should talk about?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it really well. Cool. We would just love for people to come out and support us. If you've never been to the farmers market, now is a great time to come. Yes. We're on the cusp of fall with more fall vegetables, but even now we've got a nice selection of produce and just all the homemade foods under the sun. And I would welcome anybody to come check us out. Stop by the information booth and ask questions. We'll direct you to who has eggs today or who sells pickles and whatnot.
That's awesome, and I can testify. My wife and I have stopped by there many times and got some really good stuff.
Yes, you won't be disappointed.
Cool, Meridith. Thank you so much for sitting down with me, sharing a little bit about your story, and I can't thank you enough.
Well, thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.